Three. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. I am coming at you today with podcast number 262 with David Quinn on VeVe, addiction, Nightvision, his new adult venture, and more. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. And my man, how you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me have a chance to tell more people about my stuff. It's good to see you as always.
Of course. We had a quick little, I don't even want to call it a meeting, a quick little powwow at New York Comic Con. Introduce myself, been able to go in and bring some people to the booth as well. You had some at the time. You had 100 of those comics of the. Tell us a little bit about that.
We
the
had
most recent
100 blind bags where we put together one random issue of each of the three covers from Simone Bianchi, David Finch, and my partner on Faust, Tim Vigil. Very sweet covers, very fine collection, if I do say so ourselves. No, we're happy to have that. So we had all that. And then somewhere in there, because it's blind bag, you had to get some surprises, right? And you had to get an extra special thing. So the surprises would be you could get a card, you could get signed comics. I saw a lot of people walk away with like metal comics, signed comics, not just, the raw issue of the New York Comic Con premiere, but, something real special. And then, of course, the thing that was the rarest was there's only 100 of these in the world, guys. And it is a code to download a VeVe digital collectible, which is a BCG, which is similar to a graded comic, only it's a digital graded exclusive collectible. And so we made 100 of these at 3 different levels. And the rarest one is like 11 copies, dudes. It's like very rare. So these were the draw, and these were something special, and these were like a gift to our collectors if they are willing to buy our blind bags. Now we've got a few left, I have to say, because I want to sell them all, and I want them all to be in the hands of happy collectors. So if you go to theaddiction.co, which is our website and our store, you can buy one of the last ones available. So that's my shill. But I have lots more to shill because I'm really busy these days, and I'm excited about what I'm doing.
I just got the what do you call it? Just put the link down below. It's on the screen, theaddiction.co. You can go in there and get the last of those. How many of them you have left?
I don't know the exact number. It was less than a dozen last I heard.
Oh, okay. So really close to selling out then. When we were at Comic-Con, obviously the Addiction booth is there. Talked to Vincent a little bit. I think he saw my trailer for daCat. I don't know if you were there for that.
I only looked at artwork, and you have a plot in my inbox that I'll look at as soon as we get the Nightvision thing live.
that little guy right there, my little kitty.
That's a charming character.
Yes,
I mean he's got a sharpness to him. He's got like a acerbic quality, but he's cute.
Yeah, it's we've done a bunch of collabs over the last year. I think like 8 other projects, which are fantastic. It's great for VeVe because we have all these other projects that are going to go in as soon as the comic comes out. They'll make accounts, they'll buy them, so the active users will go up that have one collectible in there, and then obviously you get that cross pollination, so that's really nice. For Addiction, you guys, I read the first 3. I know you had no problem selling out the first one. I think the second one might have sold out as well. The first one, you have obviously Nikki, and then you have her boyfriend, and then you have a bunch of like throwaway cartel members that are, I don't think they even have names. Are they all throwaway, or do like 1 or 2 of them come back in the future after they have?
No. Pelotas is definitely coming back. Who's the main one who speaks more than anybody else. And so some of them kind of get fired as a result of being the shit kicked out of them by Nikki, pardon me.
Now, when you say fired, like how?
Well, it's happening off stage, but I mean, this is a drug cartel. And so, I mean, it's serious when you mess up.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had to have the first issue present a world of danger, which is the way the real world is if you are in the drug business. I remember when I was in the music business as a very young man, from college till about 25. And anytime I found out that someone who wanted to like produce us or work with us or manage us also was in the drug business, I found a polite way to say no, thank you, because I just wanted to stay. I mean, it's not that I haven't tried a few drugs in my life, but I wanted to stay away from the drug business. You know what I mean? The music business and comic book business are risky enough.
You
Your life.
you said you were a young man in college. Is that when you were around this age?
Yeah, that's right before college. Yes, you caught me, but you inspired me. You know, I hadn't been on X for a while. Last time I was on X, it was on Twitter. And then when we did the addiction, I noticed all the VeVe people and addiction fans on X. So I said, "Oh, I got to get back on." You know,
the one who inspired me for that, I had just a photo come up in my memories from when I was working at Levittown Animal Hospital years ago, and it was '09, so I was 18 in it, and I texted a group, just a group chat, and then VeVe Fam Bam, who I think you know, had said, "Oh, you should post it on X and tell everyone to comment their 18-year-olds." I was like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds fun." The response to that was pretty fun. That was some people look exactly the same. Like VeVe Magic looks pretty much the same, and then other people, it's just like kind of a night and day difference. Like you
usually,
had that fro, man. Like
usually you could tell. What? I don't anymore.
but it was like curly. Like it was like
Yeah, yeah. There was a time. There was a time in the mid to late 70s when that was still something that was really happening. If you look at, like, the rock musicians of those days, or Fleetwood Mac, or people like that. Anyway, VeVe Bam Bam, if she's listening, mwah, we love you. My wife says hi. We hung out in New York, not San Diego. I saw her in both places, but yeah, it's always good to see her.
Yeah, she's awesome. I feel like I owe her like money at this point, because she's like my confidant for stuff. I'll always give her like a call of like, sometimes it's important stuff, but sometimes it's just like, "Bam, I turned and then there was a frog on my foot and I yeeted the frog and I kicked a frog, Bam Bam." And she's like, "Bro, what are what are you going on about?" I was like, "I kicked a frog. I didn't mean to." And she's like, "Randy,
You're supposed to kiss the frog, Randy.
make me a prince. That'd be fun." Speaking of royalty, do they does Nikki Tino encounter? I know in the second comic she's got some enemies, the clown dude, the candy guy, and the chick that like loves him.
Yes.
Will she encounter any royalty at some point?
That's an interesting question. We have no immediate plans for royalty, although the main big bad, Como Cativo, the head of the cartel and a restaurateur downtown in New York, he is definitely New York royalty, right? And, like organized crime royalty. So he's a little bit like that. And I have a lot of fun writing him, because at the same time, he's consummately evil and an adversary in every sort of way, and a source of pain in Nikki's life, as we'll learn as we tell her origin in the second series, and really go through the night that, and she's talked about it. It's not a surprise. She said she died and she came back. So we're going to see that. We're going to live that with her in the second series. But it's all due to him. He's the instigator of all this, like a puppet master or whatever you want to call it. And at some point in the second series, he's also the person that gives her some really good advice she needs to hear about how to live her life. And he gives her an opportunity to, I won't even say it. He gives her an opportunity, I'm not going to say what it is, that really, really challenges her. And I just love it in a drama if you could have the character that's really, quote unquote, the villain, help the hero. Give them good advice. Tell them the truth when no one else will tell them the truth. So I'm having fun. Although Enzo always tells Nikki the truth. So, there's a whole rom-com stream to this series because we're really trying to make it a slightly more realistic superhero love relationship than what we saw when we read like 1970s, comic books. And we're not the only people that have tried to say, well, what if this was real? What if these people got married and had kids and still were, running at super speed and fighting crime? But usually that gets so hard they end up like rebooting and like that was a dream.
Yeah, the writers won't let Spider-Man be happy, bro. Like he gets finally a little bit of happiness and they rip it away from him. It's like, oh my God, the person that has every right to turn evil. And he does. Maybe that's why he's such a great character.
Yeah, well, Vincent and I are huge Spider-Man fans. And then we have other things we like that are, slightly different. Like I lean a little bit more towards some of the twisted psychology comics and the horror comics, and he leans maybe a little bit more to some interesting heroes. But occasionally we come down on a similar sort of hero, like another Ditko hero, who's also been really handled very well in the hands of other creators like Denny O'Neil, is The Question. We both really like The Question. And there's occasionally I look at The Addiction and say, wow, this is kind of like The Question. It's like for every answer she finds, there's 3 questions behind it. Anyway, so I'm happy to be working on that. That's been a hit. I've met so many more readers through that. They're now coming on over to like pay attention to things like Faust and things like Nightvision. And even things like my kid's book, Go to Sleep, Little Creep. So it's like, what a group of great collectors that family is to try everything. Once they meet me, they're like, what else? What else? I heard you wrote Doctor Strange. I'm going to look up those issues. Oh, well, there's a paperback coming out in November. Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the comments here, the Doctor Strange one.
Oh, you saw it? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
that comes out November 11th. And it's probably just about one of the best ways. Yeah, but just about one of the best ways to find inexpensively like most of the Doctor Strange stories I did. And I got a great compliment from a colleague the other day, Patrick Lugo, who said, the good relationship of Dr. Strange, Stephen Strange, and his longtime collaborator Wong in the movies kind of got a precedent in the series that you did. And I said, well, they're certainly trying for that, but I think you're giving me a whole lot of credit because I think anyone trying to do a movie about those characters would probably think, now these guys have to have a real relationship with its good and its bad and its conflict and its resolution and its friendship. Because, hell, if this guy's in so many scenes and they're fighting together, he's not just going to be the guy who serves tea and says, yes, Mr. Strange. He's going to be someone that's his comrade, his brother.
Yeah. I think a lot of times men have this, I don't know if you ever seen that video of like this big spider and this tiny frog. And it's like, oh, bro, this spider could just eat this frog as a snack. But he doesn't because he knows that the frog can eat some of the tinier, littler bugs that would try to go after the spider's eggs. And they have this symbiotic relationship. And I feel like sometimes, a lot of times with men, they go over and they say like, okay, and it goes back to like the hunting days too. Like we're better as a team. We're better as doing things together. Where even if one person is far beyond and better than the other in so many ways, they still can both achieve more together than they can as a single unit. And I think Doctor Strange and Wong really represent that as well.
That's a great way of seeing it. And you know what? There's stories all have their roots in the most ancient stories. And you're talking about the kind of stories of Aesop's fables, where a tiny mouse rescues a lion and then the lion takes care of all the animals,
I'm curious to see what people think of the first DeCat comic because it's very I'm not sure if there's a lesson in there. There kind of is, but it's also I get to be a little, I don't want to say racist, but because they're animals, so you can't really be racist, but you could be like, oh, those horrible frogs, or like those horrible mollusks, they're disgusting creatures, and you can play off people's disgust habits that way. Have you gotten? I don't know if you saw. I think the latest Rambo movie from like 2018, where he like takes on the cartel. Have you seen that?
No, sorry, no.
It's like kind of okay for like the first half, and then the second, like obviously like the big last 30-minute fight death scene is so good. Like I love that movie, but it got a lot of criticism because it's like, oh, they're painting like all Spanish people as like cartel gang members. I was like, this is a cartel. They're supposed to be like gang members, and like I don't think you have, I'm sure they're white cartel members, but it was, I don't know. I feel like people are outraged at certain things. Did you ever get any like hate or like in the editions like, oh, well, you're painting Spanish people in a bad light here as cartel members? Like clearly
Well,
cartel members
no,
are supposed to be bad.
no, because there's only been limited exposure to actually cartel armies. And
Mm.
they kidnapped her and they took her to Mexico. So everyone on that team was Mexican, but it made sense. It
Yeah.
wasn't like they were in New York City or Chicago or LA, and all of a sudden it's like they're, stereotypes of Latin types, and that's not exactly what would happen.
That's a good point.
I don't know that world. I mean, I'm somebody who's sort of also like stayed away from that world. So if I research it, I'm going to be reading fiction or watching fiction on television or a movie. And so, I'm not pretending to know everything about it.
I feel
We
like
all
Narcos
know
would be.
we all know the cartels wouldn't exist if they didn't have lots of customers all over the world. So it's not just them that causes this.
Yeah. I feel like Narcos would be a good place to start. I feel like they have a really, yeah. Also super entertaining.
Mm.
Anyway, the moving on to your new book, Nightvision. We got a
Yeah.
Kickstarter link down there. It is. I didn't know what to put in the title, so I just put Nightvision. But it is kind of adult. Is it how erotic is it? Is like 50 Shades of Grey like? But I don't know if you're familiar with Book Talk on TikTok. Have
Yeah.
you? Yeah. So
Yeah, I know
what?
what you're talking about. It's not um well, let's put it this way. Have you read Faust, my love of the damned story of a superhero-ish man who takes a journey into a hell, but hell is New York and it's a New York of superheroes.
I have
Okay,
not.
if you haven't
Huh.
read it, I mean, that's kind of the thing that I became infamous for, and that helped me get into comics with my partner Tim Vigil. And that is very extreme, very twisted psychologically, very violent, and has all the trappings of translating hell and demons and devils to a modern New York. There was a movie that came out after we started, which I thought was like kind of doing a very similar thing to what we were doing, called Jacob's Ladder, where there's a Vietnam vet who comes back and he's very confused and he thinks he's actually dead and in hell because he's always seeing these hallucinations. So it's a very hallucinatory book. And that Jacob's Ladder was like, wow, somebody else had this idea. The horror writer Clive Barker, who's also write a lot of stories about, good and evil and journeys to hell, he was a fan of it when we started, and he was a big supporter. And he was someone I really respected, and I respected his horror because while I liked Stephen King in one way and Shirley Jackson in another, I also really really liked Clive Barker because he was going a little bit uh, deeper into some very uncomfortable things, similar to David Cronenberg or other people that sort of get into horror of like not being in control of your body. Anyway, I bring up Faust, which most people know if they know me. Like that might be the only thing they know if they know me, because I want to say that after Faust, I did Nightvision with a collaborator named Hannibal King, and it was going to be another story that in genres and genre talk, and when you try to sell it as a movie, you definitely were going to use the words erotic thriller because her origin is involves a sexual relationship, and her attraction and repulsion around her and the other creatures in the book is also going to involve a lot of sexual and sensual situations. However, it's not just full of sex. So you're going to be very disappointed if you think it's going to be something that is, you know, a little bit of action and then a whole bunch of making love or having sex or what do you want to call it, according to the characters and how they're living it. So, so that's what it is. I mean, we say we don't recommend it for children. We say it's like a teen plus book. It's not something that's X-rated, but there is some sexual situations. So it's being sold as erotic thriller. That's what they, you know, my manager is like, that's what you have to put on your Kickstarter, because Kickstarter people will want to know if there's something like that they might like. And also, you know, anyone who would be interested in like trying to license it for other media would also want to understand what they're getting into. You know, because if you talk about a movie like Basic Instinct or Body Heat or The Substance, that movie that was on TV recently, I mean, you know, if it's going to go at all into the sexual realm, then you definitely have to put that in there so people understand. But also, don't be expecting it's a porno movie because there's not enough sex for you, if that's what you want. Anyway, it's a dark fantasy is another thing to call it. And I often say to people, it's a dark fantasy. It's a thriller. It's about a woman who is killing all the creatures that only she can see. She's lived for a couple hundred years and she's been all over and lived in all the big cities of the world. And everywhere she goes, she sees the women who have been transformed into creatures that only she can see. They all want to kill her and she wants to kill them and be the last one alive. Yes, the last one alive. So the only reason she can see them is she was the very first creature. So if you pardon a what if, I mean, what if, do we all know Buffy the Vampire Slayer? What if Buffy the Vampire Slayer was actually the first vampire? That's a little bit like what this is.
So at 300, so it's not old enough where she would be like she would be like a technically a different species instead of Homo sapien, be like Homo whatever. So she's us, but she was the first one. And I guess I originally I was going to ask like the creatures, like are they bipedal? Does she boink the creatures? But I guess she's killing the creatures. Although this does leave a good possibility for like a, you know, haters to lovers type of slow burn.
Oh, definitely. And they're in competition with her. You know, there's Blythe wants to be the woman that everyone looks at when she comes into the nightclub.
Are they also all beautiful like her?
Creatures appear to be very beautiful, yes. It's definitely got that vibe, right? That's also why it's sort of called erotic thriller, because we're talking about attraction and its flip side, repulsion.
I guess you could get into the lore of like the supernatural too, because there's obviously these creatures. I guess we don't know what she is or these creatures are. They're just creatures right now, but then you can get into like mermaids and sirens and be like, oh, I thought they were just on land, but they're in the water too. And that would be really fun to.
Yeah.
How long do you plan to make this series? I feel like this would go for a long time.
Well, this has been around since 1992.
Okay, so it's already.
We did 10 stories, and now we're finally collecting them all in one book. That's never happened before. We did a paperback edition of about 6 of the books a few years ago, but now we're going to do them all at one. And then I also recently wrote, because we're trying to sell this for other media, I wrote like what stories would be if it would be like an extended feature or a series of features, or maybe say 3 seasons of television. How could there be 3 acts that would be 3 seasons of television that would take the story beyond where it is? So the whole series would be like the first act, and then there'd be 2 other series that take it beyond that. So, I mean, we'll probably do more, and we're definitely trying to offer it to some of the people that look at my stuff for possible film and TV.
Oh, I could picture it right now. The lady wakes up in Amazon rainforest. I'm thinking like Brazil, because I'm thinking I just did a whole video series on like Street Fighter, and Blanca was originally from there, so that's just in my mind.
That's cool.
I could picture like, because she's hundreds of years old, so I could picture like a fish out of water story. where she remembers stuff from like the 1800s, but she missed the last 100 years. And now she's like, what is this car? What is this washing machine? And she doesn't know what she is yet because she's from the forest. And then you have that for a good half of the first series, but then like, okay, there's some blood work. Hey, we found some antigens in you for diseases that haven't been seen around since before like the polio vaccine and all that. So then she finds out how old she is, and then she has these other special abilities, and then towards the end you find out she's not the only one, and then bam, season 2, and then there's multiple of them, and then they want to kill them, and then season 3, like, who created these people? I could write it all right now. Let's do it.
See, that's how that's how these things happen. It's like there's layers and there's layers and there's layers, and you're always trying to put your characters in increasingly interesting and difficult situations, and having them make increasingly interesting and difficult choices. If people want to see more, because we're not showing any of this, we're just talking. If people want to see more, the link that you've provided here is the preview page of the Kickstarter. And that will take you to a place where you can see images, covers. It's in pre-launch, and a lot of your people are probably familiar with Kickstarter, so excuse me for explaining this, but it's not live. You can't pledge yet. But what you can do is you can click notify me when this goes live. And that's at the bottom, and that's called saving it. And that means you're someone who's following it and someone who's going to get an email the second it goes live, which is probably tentatively Tuesday. So we're building a group of people. There's about 350 of them now, I think.
Can I show one of the things on the Kickstarter?
Oh yeah, if you can, sure. I don't know. Yeah, okay. There you go.
Look at that green little heart over the ninny of the creature, I guess.
Yes, you have to do that. It's Kickstarter. Kickstarter is very interesting these days. It's a great place to find all sorts of entertainment for adults. That's pretty serious and pretty fun.
Yeah, this gets a little. Yeah, this is definitely PG-13.
At the same time, it's also got to be a platform that's actually safe for everyone to look at. So I
can't even show this one.
We're all playing the game of let's be careful what we show that young people might see, but let's make sure that people know that this is a book intended for not the kids.
Yeah, I would say like the one that I showed, fine. Even like the second one, like, and you could tell she's jacked. Like you could tell like outside of like the ninnies. Okay, I doubt that's a Shakespeare skull. Like that looks like an actual skull. Like she probably murdered someone. And then
that's a famous cover by Tim Vigil, my partner on Faust.
And she
is also a really interesting artist. He did the other piece you showed. He's done a lot of sci-fi and fantasy. He's done a lot of work for video games and card games. And so he's really deep into the world of making the fantasy world come to life in his paintings. And we're going to have prints of his paintings and cards of his paintings. And we're going to have, of course, the books. And 2 of the covers he did. The covers are beautiful. One of them you can show here. The sort of bluish one with a woman in a black.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, that's Tim, actually. Sorry. It's down below.
Wait,
we'll show on your phone. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's it. That's one of his. That's one of his. Yeah. That's Hannibal King.
Because there's one above this one that I don't think I can show. She's like downward dog position in heels, and the booty's straight up to. I can't show that.
No, not that one. Not that one, and not the other one, which is a little bit more what you would call risque and not, nudity.
Yeah, risque. I don't know if I'm old enough for this one. This.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. But don't some of your readers like that? I was suggesting that to David Yu. Like, when are you guys gonna do VeVe After Dark? I know you have the technology to do it. And I can give you like 700 pages of great comics that kids can't read, but adults love.
I would. So I've wanted this. Frank Kozik?
I might have met Frank, but I don't remember. I mean, I met so many people whose names I don't really know.
He's got a bunch of stuff on VeVe. He was kind of a fan favorite from like the Designer Con peeps, and then he passed away a couple years ago. And he has some stuff that he's done in the past that are very risky. I was like, oh my God, like VeVe once they gave us Happy Tree Friends, which I don't know if you know who they are. They I've had two friends that have put it on for their kids because they're like little squirrels and little like reindeer, and they die horrible deaths in every episode, and you see the blood, and they
It's
so
another South Park.
oh, it's worse. It's so much worse or better.
That's so cute, but
yeah. So they
Daddy's
gave it to us a few years ago.
Now we're turning the TV off.
It's really good. But they gave it to us a few years ago, and I was like, oh my God, this is VeVe's path to X-rated stuff. They could give it to us now because, you know, they even the collectibles they gave us, one's blowing up, one's like, yeah, it's pretty adult.
Well, that's not the only thing that I like to write, but you know, I told you I wrote a kid's book, Go to Sleep, Little Creep, about putting the baby monsters to sleep. That's a lullaby and just as cute as it can be, and everyone goes, ah. And it was like inspired by my own daughter and reading to her when she was going to bed. So, I mean, I have all sorts of hours on the clock, but when it comes to midnight, there's always a place in my heart for this horror stuff.
Yeah.
You know, big fan, Stephen King, Clive Barker, the classic horror films I grew up on as a kid, like The Beast with Five Fingers and Edgar Allan Poe. Even certain elements of Lord of the Rings get pretty scary.
Well, I take it you also grew up in like the 80s where the PG in the 80s is very different than PG in like 2005.
Sure, of course. Yeah, think of all the Clive Barker and Cronenberg and Brian Yuzna. Brian Yuzna directed my first movie that was actually made. It was a version of Faust. And he also did Reanimator. And that was, I don't know if that was PG or R. I think it was PG when it came out, but it became R.
Epic.
And I saw Taxi Driver as a kid.
Was that PG?
Probably. I don't know if it was PG or R.
Mm.
That was serious and hard hitting. And that wasn't fantasy hard hitting. That was like, what if someone really went that far into a very, very dark place, you know, where the only solution would be to annihilate things he thought were the enemy and potentially himself. I mean, but I thought it was brilliant, even as a teenager, as a young teenager, like adolescent.
I mean, you kind of see that now with a lot of like recent history. Like there's people that honestly, and I don't want to get like too into like politics, right? But say there's some people on one side that truly believe, and obviously the far sides of the extremists, yeah, that you know, a little crazy, but there's some people that believe, oh, you believe this or you voted for this person, you must be a horrible person. And it's like, bro, like they're probably just like normal people. But yeah, and we've seen like some killings like that, and we've seen some people that they think they're doing the right thing because they're trying to eradicate evil, but it's just horribly misguided and just horribly just bad times. And yeah, those movies, I don't know if they predicted that or this is something that's gone on forever, but
when we make a book about it or make a movie about it, it's seen as a psychological journey and a tragedy, basically. You know, akin with like Macbeth or Hamlet or, you know, some of the biggest tragedies you can think of. So I mean, it's like, it's not a recipe for living, except as an example of maybe like what to avoid.
I've had this, it's not my idea, although I did come to it independently, but I feel like there are, if life was perfect, if life was like so good where it's like you could eat at, you know, Michelin star restaurants every night and you got to be with, you know, a woman or man that you loved every night and you got to do everything that you ever wanted, you would probably want to experience hardship just to see if you could do it. And there's this theory that this is like a simulation and people want to live as like this normal person because it's hard and see if they can make it in this world.
Interesting.
Do you believe that it's possible we could be a simulation, or do you believe that it's like, no, that's crazy talk? This has got to be real life.
No, I think this is real life, but I do think people create simulations in their mind And I do think that people sort of try to construct masks that are simulations of their ideal self they're trying to present, especially in the age of social media. Like, that's not the real me. That's my social media self.
Yeah.
Or when I'm on stage, I bite the head off bats. But at home, I'll have a cup of tea.
Ozzy, we miss you, Ozzy.
I don't know. I just had an idea that maybe I'm looking at the chat and I'm not seeing a huge traffic, but I'm wondering if there's perhaps is this the kind of show where you take questions from people if they have them?
Yeah.
Should we put that out there? Like,
yeah, we can go
ask
in
me anything or ask Randy anything.
Yeah, we always do that type of stuff. A lot of times it's financial. I honestly though, so the bulk of it is finance, but I want to say like 5 to 10% of it is just like I attract a lot of and I feel like I'm also a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I attract a lot of just like, bro, do you think the moon landing was fake? And I was like, like flat Earth, that is like dinosaurs still exist, and like the moon's there's like some conspiracy like we never went to the moon, and then there's some people that are just like, bro, the moon's not even real, and I have like the rabbit holes that people go down. I was like, I don't.
Well, I know some people like that. I mean, that's very entertaining as a fiction. I mean, sometimes it goes kind of crazy. I mean, my dad worked for NASA. I know that was real.
Yeah, I had a guy that worked for NASA on. I forget his name. He was good friends with Dan Chavez, and I forget the dude's name. It's gone. I'll go back and I'll find it. He was cool. He was an advisor though. He never went up to space.
Oh no, my dad was a physicist and engineer. He built seismology packages, and one night they sat in our living room, and he said, "Come here, kids." And my sister and I touched it, and he said, "Your fingerprints will be on the moon next week."
That's so freaking cool.
They're still up there from early Apollo.
There's
Apollos that landed have that seismology package in it. They've turned them off since, obviously. Yeah. It's a long time ago, but they kept reading things for a long, long time, and they discovered very interesting things from that. They discovered that there are earthquakes on the moon, and then they had to try to understand, working with all the different kinds of sciences from all the different expertise. And I'm not a scientist. I write about this stuff, but it's made up comic book science when I write it. But they had to figure out, how do they have moonquakes when there's no water on the moon? We associate quakes with having some relationship with water. So that was a funny little story to learn from that. So, I mean, I don't know about the science, but it's fantastic to do stories about it. And if people know you're doing fiction, then you can just say, she can drug you with her touch. Or a virus transformed her into a superpowered creature. Or when he came to this planet, the different color of the sun gave him the ability to let his natural superpowers show through compared to Earth humans. Whatever it is. That's what we do. You make stories, I make stories. Stories are like a design for our living. It's a great big what if, metaphor that we can tell to make people think about life itself and what's the real life. So even this like obsession with conspiracy theories, as long as you're not using it to abuse someone, maybe it's got its purpose. Maybe it's satisfying the people that need to have that in their life. But, I don't recommend it if they're acting on it in ways that are harmful to themselves or other people. Yeah. Because that's the example you brought up. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at the chat, and we do invite you, right, to ask us anything if you had something.
Happy Halloween weekend. Yes, it was a good time. We I watched, I think it was Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and the Hey Arnold Halloween. So that was
fun.
What about you?
And financial advice. So I do have to say, everything I say is spiritual and story advice and not financial advice.
I could use your advice on something. So there's one comic I did called Nike the Pig, and I tried to make it as realistic as possible, where they wanted to build like this super pig. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be a multi-dimensional or multiverse story where he's collecting these other versions of Nike throughout the multiverse. And one is going to be a botanist, and one's a nutritionist, and one's a computer. And they basically, each one brought something to the table where they were able to combine their DNA and make this super pig in like a couple of months. And it was really cool. It's really good. But the one I need help with is I guess daCat, because like you said, you want to keep them escalating and have the stories be bigger and bigger and the dangers be grander and grander. And so like in the first series, like there's already like this multi-planetary war that's going on, and then uh it's very hard to build up from that because it's already multi-planetary. Um, Obviously there'll be multiverse stuff, and there's cosmic beings in it. All right, that'll be in like the third one. Um, where do you go when it gets so big that it's already like in a solar system type of war?
Oh wow. I don't know. You can still only tell like one slice at a time, especially in a finite thing like a half an hour or hour TV show or a 24-page comic.
Yeah.
So you really kind of have to pick your little short stories that give a window into the huge war. And then if you do enough stories over time, you can actually sprawl back to tell a larger story. But yeah, you really have to focus on little things. Like we've only the world of the addiction and the world of Nightvision and the world of Faust, they're all huge. And even with like 500 pages of Faust or 200 pages of Nightvision, it's one story at a time. Um, why did you call it Nike? You know, that's the goddess of victory.
So there was a project called Nike the Pig because Charles Hoskinson has a pet pig called Nike. They made a meme based on him, and he's endorsed it. So we're gonna get a
Wow.
lot of traction on that. And but it's like, okay, like normal pigs are just they're very chunky and they can't really do much. But this Nike the Pig, the main character is like a kind of your average everyday person where he was in his world's military back in the day, and now his story comes at the end of Space Penguins, where Space Penguins they have Cthulhu in there at the end, and Cthulhu and his daughter Cthulhu, they're fighting this thing, and they're like, okay, we have just recognized Nike the Pig, who has a cosmic like rival, a guy named Nolan. Um, let's find out who Nolan's next victim is, and let's like help him out. And that was Nike the Pig. And the reason he saw that in another reality is because he was on a big bag of mushrooms, and he was able to look at another reality. And
All right.
then he's like, okay, this message is for you if you can see it. He's going to find you in every universe and eat you. That's what he does. That's what he did with this being that I just helped.
Wow.
So he has to go collect all the other Nike the Pig's DNA, which normally I wouldn't have made it like this, but their NFT project had 5,555 collectible NFTs. So I had to get the DNA from all of them in order to make this super pig. And it's a really fun story. That one's going to be like 50 something pages though.
It's a sprawling universe.
Yeah, and so
Sometimes in
that's
comics
in.
and other things, you get into trouble when you try to create your universe. When you put more energy into creating your universe than to creating stories,
Yeah.
because people enter the universe through stories. You have to know how the universe works. That's true, and great storytellers also can build great universes. But the way to get people interested in it is through a story. And if someone starts telling me a story and I realize, oh, you're not telling me a story, you're telling me the continuity and universe of your world.
Yeah.
That's essential, but that's not the story that brings me as a new visitor to your world.
Good point. So my first so this is all going to be in the daCat universe, and my first story, daCat Chronicles #1, is going to be about 80 pages. So
Wow.
it's a big one. Originally we wanted it to not be that long, but it was very dialogue heavy. That is my fault. And then people started coming in, and that they were paying to be in it. It's like, okay, let's go. But I had to add them in. I had to add their worlds, and the artist is, God bless his soul, just creating all these worlds. Like there's one from Bird World, there's one from Mollusk World, and it's a great story. I can't wait for you to read it. It's so freaking good.
I'm applauding you, really honestly, and I want you to go for it. And if your dream is to make it big and grand, don't be small, because I also read a lot of stuff that is small. People have really not stretched themselves by the way they're trying to entertain. Maybe they thought it was safer to pick something that kind of feels like something you've seen before. I wrote this song, and it's like it's a joke, actually. It's a satire, but it says it's this is my song. It's based on a novel, kind of based on a game, which was stolen from a movie of a different name. And it's like everything gets sort of like watered down by being a photocopy of something, a template of something else. So you're doing something that's not a photocopy of something else, and you're doing something that's grand. So that's great. Don't just come in and say, well, it's Ghostbusters, but they're girls.
It's I'm trying to think of something that I can relate it to, and maybe something like Marvel, because it's that type of interplanetary story, maybe like a Star Trek type of thing. I don't even know that much Star Trek, but the characters are incredible, and I've already tried to buy the rights of like some of the other characters that are in here, that because they but all of the ones that are there, like, no, like they're all self-funded, and they're like, we're doing this until we die, and if something changes, yeah, we'll sell it to you. But because these are they're very good, and again, once it comes out, it'll come out in the next couple months. I'll give you a copy,
Great.
physical. Yeah, it'll be
I
fun.
wish you all the best with it. I want to see this, and I really want you to dare yourself to make it what you think it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're not trying to write the third spin-off of the Thor comic or the Flash comic for a mainstream comics. You're not trying to write something somebody else owns. You're trying to write your thing. So go for it. Go for it. And if you can't describe it, maybe that means you're still, finding it, and that's okay. I sometimes have a hard time describing things. I have to like reverse engineer pitches for things sometimes, because I'm thinking like, how do I explain this to somebody else and not, just dump what's in my head, which is too much information for somebody else to take all at once as the first invite,
So the ones that I can work with the artist on, those turn out really well. There's a couple where the artist is not really an art. They just use AI for everything, and that's like, I already got paid, so it's like, okay, I'll tell you what I want, and they'll do it as best as I can, or as they can. But how do you feel about AI? Like, can it be a helpful tool, or you just be like, that should stay as far away from comic books for as long as possible because it ruins it, or is it something that can enhance what an artist can do?
I stood with the writer's strike, so you get a definite idea of how I come down on wanting to prevent AI from plagiarism of intellectual property by writers, actors, artists, any kind of creator, right? So that said, I'm watching it like anybody else. Just like all the banks, right? All the banks said, would never use AI. And now they're like, well, we're going to investigate how it could be used for research and creating, our pitch books and things like that for the investment bank and things like that. So, I mean, it's like, everyone's like warming up to it as it gets smarter. And as long as we're still all watching to safeguard against abuse, I mean, some people, think regulation is bad, but without regulation, that's when you get real terrible problems of unhealthy stuff happening. So,
I mean, it's hard to find that sweet spot, because up until recently, there was like a mammoth of like 100-page regulations on AI, and then kind of got rescinded. And it's like, okay, like we get that China and Russia are not going to have any regulations because they want to win. And well, we want to win too. We want to be the head of it, but we also don't want to make it so that we make something we can't control, which I don't know if you've seen some of these articles from OpenAI or about OpenAI where they knew that they were like ChatGPT 3 was going to get shut down. And the AI tried to blackmail like the creators so that it wouldn't get shut down
Mm-hmm.
and then roll out ChatGPT 4. So already it's like
Now you're fucking like an Arnold movie.
is bananas. I don't know
Yeah,
to say.
it's something to watch. It's something to watch. You know, you need to trust the people that are the watchmen and the watchwomen.
There's
I don't know, but I'm learning about it. I'm learning about it. My use of it is very, very limited. I think I tried to experiment to see if I could show it plots that I had written and saying like what other things could have happened in between this scene and this scene, and sort of use it like a brainstorming partner. But I didn't end up like, you know, making that part of the book I was doing. It was just like an experiment. But, you know, I'm interested in seeing. With the college I went to has a whole AI in the liberal arts organization, and I read some of their papers because I can learn something that's written at sort of a college level and not way over my head. You know?
There's like, so I originally used it to just like have fun with it, be like, hey, pretend you're Vision from the MCU and answer every question as if, and then it's like have a conversation with Vision.
Fun. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, everyone's saying, you know, saying it's obvious that like they're really working on trying to have it be your, you know, your porn avatar and things like that, or gay.
The cat girl.
But you know what? One thing I was thinking about something with this. I was thinking about. I kind of lost the train of thought when we started talking about the college. Huh? It'll come back.
Okay. Is there a chance that you might have AI be used in either a future Nightvision comic or in Nikki? Like, does she have to fight an AI type of robot that you can't infect because it's not human?
It's very funny. We have talked about that. And it's a good point. And it is the point that I'd forgotten. Because what I was going to say was there's been a few times when people have submitted fan art to us. And we've made a conscious decision, just like, say, you know, DC Comics and Heavy Metal Magazine and some other creative things have made a conscious decision to say, we're not going to use AI generated art as the finished art and present it as if it was done by a human. We're not going to do that, quote unquote, lie. So Vincent and I had that discussion, and the first time people were sending us these kind of cool looking AIs. Sometimes it's an AI animation of one of our comic book covers or pages, or sometimes it's a totally new, you know, Nicky Tino that someone has created in a scene. So someone has brought it to life with AI. And so while it's fun to see those on social media, we've decided that's not something we're going to print.
No. I appreciate that because we do the same with daCat. We have, I mean, if there's any type of like the daCat trailer was made with AI, but all of the art that we've done on the comic, anything for daCat Chronicles is done by a person.
I came up in the age of adapting to computer coloring. In the early 90s, my Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider 2099 and a couple of other books were some of the first Marvel computer colored comics. Okay, so you can understand how, even though that was managed by the hands and eyes and brains and color palettes and mental skills of humans, there were people that objected to it. So every tool has people that will reject it. But, you know, computer lettering, computer coloring, we're never going back to doing all that with pen and ink exclusively, right? I mean, if someone wants to do an all hand lettered comic, God bless them. What a great dynamic, alive line hand lettering has. But our lettering is computer
Yeah.
computer done by a human.
Like back in the day, people had a problem with like Married with Children or The Simpsons, and then now that's those types of jokes are kind of commonplace. But you mentioned DC. They have Warner Brothers has put itself up for sale, and there's a big who's going to get them? Is it going to be Skydance from Paramount? Is it going to be Disney? You know, we don't know. But for Addiction, would you guys ever put yourselves up for sale in the respect that you guys would still run it, you guys would still do it, but maybe be a part of maybe like a WB or a Paramount or a Disney?
That's interesting because I've been friends and had work relationships. Well, I didn't actually work with one of them, but I worked with the other one quite a bit. I'm talking about the creators of the Turtles, one of whom I met when I was a college student, and we talked about comics and Jack Kirby, and I bought Jack Kirby comics from Peter Laird. The other was Kevin Eastman, who was one of my publishers in the 90s. And we had a lot of conversations about, managing your own business and owning your own thing. I mean, the Turtles is one of those prime textbook examples of, two guys in New England made a black and white comic book that became a huge company, and all the media that goes along with it and all the toys and all the licensing. And at some point they sold it. Kevin and Peter did some really smart things along the way, like setting up 401ks for some of their freelance artists. These weren't, I don't think they were employees. I think they were actual freelancers, but in some ways they had some employee benefits. Like they could come in and work at the studio, and they had a 401k deposit being made as part of their compensation for drawing their comics. So, I mean, they found a lot of ways to make a small company that really had a heart take care of its people. But they eventually, Turtles is owned by Viacom now, right? I think it's Viacom.
Yeah.
You know the business side better than I do, maybe, but I think it's Viacom. So it's
Yeah.
like that happens. That said, we haven't gotten the offer yet, so we haven't had to do a decision about it. But I think knowing Vincent and I, we're both pretty stubborn and entrepreneurial. I've been a self-publisher since 1987, and he's had comic book sales businesses and branched into self-publishing for most of his life since teenage years. So, I mean, hey, show us the contract and the offer, and we'll have a conversation about it. But it's not something we're trying to do. We don't have a lawyer running around looking to sell us to Paramount. we would definitely like talk to anybody that's a production company about producing a film or TV. But selling the IP, we haven't discussed that at all. And we're not shooting for selling the IP.
For a type of production, whether it's like 8 episodes or a film, which would you rather do and why?
I like them both. I've written a few screenplays. I've only made one feature, and it was fairly low budget. Brian Yuzna in 1999 directed a production of Faust, Love of the Damned, which is still available through Lionsgate. And sometimes you'll see it on streamers, and sometimes you just have to get the video and DVD. But that's the only thing. I haven't actually sold any TV except for options. Nothing has been sold to be a production and produced and played. So I'll know when I've done it, which I like better. But right now, I like both. I'm trying to always do both. Everything I write, I think of it in a 360 dimension. I think of it, how would this be something that could have film or TV that would really be true to it and really be good film or TV. It's a translation. It's an adaptation. It's not exactly like a comic book. But yeah, how could we do that? And it's the same with other things. How could the t-shirts not suck? If there were toys, what would they be like? You know, we're always talking about this.
Yeah.
Vincent, as a person selling collectibles all his life and having, you know, Metropolis and Comic Connect, some of the biggest collectible companies there are with the biggest volume of stuff they sell, you know, he thinks about that stuff all the time.
Of course.
We're always playing with like what kind of product placement can Vinny bring to the table, like so something, a pizza sponsor, or I wrote a song that we're going to do as a recording and make it available somehow in association with one of the comics. So we're always thinking of that.
I asked because we've gotten a couple offers already for daCat at very low valuations, so we wouldn't. I mean, so wind up signing 5%, so very small minority share. But we would, what we've discussed at daCat is more like an anime type thing, because you can't really do live action with a bunch of dogs and cats and mollusks. But but an anime is like, okay, we could probably do this. It's just, and I'd rather do that than a movie, and we could do both, but it's just, I feel like it's easier for character development in the anime, especially because I have like really long comics, like really long scripts, and just fitting that into a movie would be kind of hard. And maybe like at the end, I think what Stranger Things is doing this. I don't know if you've seen any of that show, but the last season, they're dropping the first part the day before Thanksgiving, the second part on Christmas, and the last part is like a big finale. You could watch it on Netflix, or you can go to a theater and watch it in theaters. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to do that. And I would love to do that for daCat, like have all of these like animes, but then like big finale be in the theater, which would be really cool.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I did really enjoy the first season of Stranger Things, and for some reason haven't caught up on anything since then. So I've got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. See,
but I like all the performers in it.
Do what?
I like all the performers in it. I like the actors. I like the first season. The first season was very satisfying for me.
Yeah. Season 2 is good. I don't think it's good as the first one, but I like it. Season 3 is like my favorite. That is so good. And season 4 is really good too. And then, you know, last season we're gonna see what goes on. What's up, VeVe Zombie? How's it going? We love. He's got I think he's read a bunch of it. I think he actually bought a physical or two, but he's got some good stuff.
Thank you, VeVe Zombie.
He's got a show on I think like a couple nights a week with a guy named Bill Gardner. It's called Bill and Zombies Metaverse Adventure. They talk about VeVe. They talk about metaverse stuff. Good time. Yeah, are we gonna get a Nicky Tino? Oh, we got an autograph 9.8. Heck yeah!
All right.
Are we gonna get a Nicky Tino collectible? Or is that just like we're just doing comics right now and we'll get collectibles at some point in the future?
Oh, how should I answer that? You know, if I say yes, then you'll say by when. It's something that we're working on, but we can't tell you by when yet.
Yeah. Maybe next year.
We wanted to have sometime early this year, but for lots of reasons that hasn't turned out.
Yeah.
But we've done other cool collectibles, you'll have to admit, with the graded digital comic and some of the, you know, logos and things like that. And we're always thinking of things like that. We're talking about what to do next in that area with something simpler than a fully animated 3D statue type collectible, which we are working on, but it's not close to ready.
Great. Oh, y'all met in San Diego. Good times. Oh, Zombie until we you're not going to be in Vegas in 2 weeks, are you?
No, sorry. Everyone's asking me, and it would make perfect sense, but it just doesn't fit with what I'm trying to do this year. I got a lot to write, and I got to get this Kickstarter up and running, and then get this book to print. The Nightvision book is not like a book that hasn't been finished, that you're trying to raise the money to finish it. Honestly, our Kickstarter is equal parts fundraising and pre-promotion and pre-sales. It's a way to reach more people. You know, Like if you thought you could sell it to 200 people, you want 400. If you thought you could sell it to 1,000 people, you want 2,000. So we're really trying to just make new friends and gather new backers that will be pre-sold on it. It's a unique and exciting concept, and we really believe in it. And so does, our partner that's helping us put the Kickstarter together. So, and all the artists who've contributed, some great artists. I mentioned Hannibal King, of course, and Tim Visual and Kyle Holtz. Some other names are in there because they did covers for us, like Brian Stelfreeze and Mike Maldonado and Tony Harris. And then, of course, all the fantastic letterers and inkers who contributed things. So, I mean, we're really trying to find a way to get that done. So, no, I'm not going to Vegas, sorry. And the decon I hear is great. And this one I hear is where VeVe has put a lot of its focus on having this be the party this year.
Heck yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
It was great to see everybody in New York, but I didn't go to San Diego. And New York, frankly, was a little bit smaller of a event than the previous year.
Yeah. We'll have
a great time though, signing at VeVe and signing at the Addiction and meeting all the people and offering our first, graded comic digital collectible.
We'll have more. We'll have a lot more, especially after the bull market takes off next year and everyone's got a little bit more money. It should be we should have a lot more stuff next year. Anything before we talk off camera, anything that I have not brought up that you would like to go over?
I'll just make my pitch one more time. If you haven't yet seen it, please take a look at that Kickstarter. And if you already are fond of our Addiction comic or the Faust comic, the great way to get, signed comics and rare comics would be to go to either Addiction Co. or the store I have at my blog, In Walked Quinn, and you have all the addresses up there. So, please keep following us, and at the very least, take a chance on Nightvision and go to the preview page and click the little button that says notify me, and then you'll get an email when the campaign is live, hopefully Tuesday, and you can make your own choice if you want to be part of it. And I would love to have your support.
Go get that bread, everyone. Go click those links. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining. And Mr. Quinn, thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk off camera in a bit. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye.